Welcome back to What's Happening in Your Neck of the Woods. Today with me, Dr. Woods, your host. I am so excited as usual every Saturday to bring you all this wonderful information about what's going on in your neck of the woods. And today we have a very special guest and someone who is true and dear. What he does is true and dear to my heart, Mr. Harold Bryson. Y'all give it up. Yes. Now, Mr. Harold Bryson has his Master's of Education, Master's of Art. Is it Master of Art? Master of Art in Education. And he has a really, really great story. And I'm not going to steal it from him today, but I will tell you that he has been teaching African history for more than 5 decades. And we are just honored to have him on our show today. And he's going to talk about what he's about to do for this community and partnershiping with Alton Park Development Corporation. So, Mr. Bryson, welcome to the show. Boy, don't he look sharp? Look at him. Oh, got the matching tie with the little hanky. When has y'all seen that lately? Now, you young folks, I need you all to take a good look, and I want you all to screenshot this, because this is the way we like to see our men. You look sharp, man.
Oh, thank you.
You are sharp today. I mean, I like that suit. I like the color. And I'm telling you, it's blending so well on the camera. You make me look good.
Right.
Yes. All right. Yeah. So, Mr. Bryson, tell us what is going on with you, sir.
Well, first of all, let me say good afternoon to everyone. And to you, Dr. Woods, I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of the Alton Park Development Corporation History Museum. I'll use just a few notes here. It's not, I normally don't need paper, but African history and American history is so vast in scope that it is, I don't want to overlook some points while I'm talking. So I just want to share that first of all. Our class at Alton Park as a development corporation here, as it relates to the African Museum, is not to be a contentious one, but we are to want to facilitate interest and meaningful dialogue on a variety of topics as it relates to African history and African American history. And there is a difference when I say African history and African American history. Let me just point out this. If you live in Africa, that's African history. If you live in America, it is American African history. Africans has a issue with African Americans claiming directly to be involved with Africa. The only thing that Africa wants from you when you come over there is your money. If you got a lot of money, because they have their own issues.
Right.
So let's note that. More about the class. The syllabus for the topics will be available for people who attend the class, who sign up for the class. On the day that we have the opening,
yes,
I will have a room available for people to come in and look at the syllabus. And if they have an interest in something, they can write it down and give it to me. And once they decide they're going to attend the class, I think it'll be a fee involved. We haven't decided that yet. Then they will get a full course syllabus for all of those classes once they sign up. Well, let's get down to casing. There will be no debates, no verbal confrontation.
Okay.
I will share information, and those who are attending the class, you're welcome to go and do facts finding. That's what history is all about. You must do your research, and you can come to me individually and say, look, I found this. Let's talk about this. I think maybe there's something there. That's fine. But we're not having a class where we be involved with discussing going against ministers or other people. This is my own take on how I feel that we should discuss topics here at the African Museum at the Alton Park Development Corporation. Now, with that said, let's get down to the case in here. Let's talk about the dawn of civilization. What do I mean by the dawn of civilization? For example, let's go this way with it. When you have seen the sunrise, That is the dawn of civilization. No one is around, no life at all. But all at once, we get into what we call the cradle of civilization. Now, about 4.5 million years ago, the cradle of civilization has begun according now according to archaeologists, anthropologists, theologians worldwide, that the cradle of civilization began in Mesopotamia with a group of human beings. I use the word human, and I'll explain that later. Sumer, Sumer, who the Sumerians came out of. Now, there's no fact. I mean, there is no disagreement with world-known anthropologists and archaeologists and theologists and ufologists in the world has all agreed that Sumer was the cradle of civilization. And who is Sumer? Sumer called themselves the black-headed people in Mesopotamia.
Wow.
That's what they called themselves. Now, there was one, archaeologist said, well, I don't know what that's about. Well, if you say you black-headed, that's what you are. Now, ufologists and archaeologists found pictorial pictures of Sumer mixing. Now, I know, go with me here, mixing with sky people. Gods is who they pictorial with, who was half human and had wings. This is who Sumer said that their ancestors came from.
Wow.
Now, that's a fact. That's a well-known fact.
Ooh, teach me up in here this morning.
Now, Dr. Bernard Hansen, a well-known oncologist, documented and reported years ago that white on white cannot produce dark skin. Dark skin on dark skin can produce dark skin. So what is he saying? Either Noah or Eve had to have been dark skinned.
Come on now.
That's a fact. Now, I know some of you just
talk some genetics up in here today.
Just check it out. Check it out. Now, I'm not going against, religion or anything. I'm just telling facts. That's what history does. History, as Malcolm X says, history rewards all research.
Yes.
And I should never forget that didn't mean much to me until I got to Washington University years ago as a graduate assistant. And they told me two things. Say 1 year you would spend with the content of your classwork. And the second year would be all about research. You will not get a master's in 1 year because the second year you have to do all research. And that kind of hit home to me, I guess, when I was about 7th or 8th grade when I heard Malcolm X say that. I didn't know what he meant, but at the end I did. But getting back to Africa, background. The Persians, Arabs, and the Hebrews recorded that the history of Africa was not recorded because Africans had not developed a tool for communication at that time. Now, of course, later on, we found out that to be different. But Herodotus, now who is Herodotus? Herodotus is the historian of history. And Herodotus record that he saw little black people with iron and bows. The Sumerians was little people. And what else did Herodotus report? Herodotus also reported that King Hezekiah was black and had the best built soldiers they ever seen. They was like had broad shoulders, skinny waist, and tall and uh, kinky hair, whatever that means. If the movie, and I think it was Clark Gable, talked about Solomon Gold mine. If you would see that movie, there was actually a real scene shot in the deep part of Africa. And
Wow.
those Hebrew men that I just described are in that movie. They are tall and they are slender. They are well built. That's a fact. That is a fact in that movie. Now, The Destruction of the Black Civilization by Dr. Chancellor Williams. He noted that that when he went to Africa and he was doing vast research, he was not allowed to come in into a certain point. And why is that? Africa had a federation. And you would think that they would know the name of federation. They created federation. And what did that mean? That meant that a visitor could only go to a certain point.
Right.
Because they had to vet you to see what you wanted over there. And not only that, to show you how the federation worked, they eventually contacted all of the tribal chiefs.
Wow.
To meet about this individual who wants to come into the deep part of their country. Because they realized that people wanted to come in for the wrong reason. And that is to take their resources.
The resources, gold, diamonds,
and all of that.
Yes.
Now that's a fact. Now, African heritage and American heritage, I am convinced, now this is me, and maybe a few others, that there's no other book that validates the antiquity of the timeline of Black history other than the Bible.
Come on now. Talk the Bible to me.
Now, let me give you an example.
I love it.
Dr. Dickerson, Carl Dickerson, I don't know if he's still living now, Vanderbilt University, theologian. His wife had saved up 2 or 3 years money to go to the Cairo Museum in Cairo, Egypt. And the reason he wanted to go, not just to go there to visit, but he wanted to see a certain dynasty. It was the 25th dynasty of the Nubian race. And Taharka was the pharaoh of that 25th dynasty. And Dr. Dickerson records that when he got to the Cairo Museum, he and his wife, all of the dynasties was in place except the 25th dynasty.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So it is a worldwide washout to wash any of our history. Now, in 2 Kings 19, verse 9, Taharka is his name. He was the 25th pharaoh. So when you look at African history, there's a lot that has been uncovered. And I would say it hadn't really been uncovered. We in America was just denied African history. See, money is powerful. Education is powerful.
Amen.
But you know what's more powerful?
What's that?
Information.
Information.
And if I give you bad information, you got bad power.
That's got bad power.
And what research does is it leads you with information to find out the truth. See, if all we want is the truth, that's all we want is the truth. And once you and what history shows is that at the dawn of civilization and the cradle of civilization, there was no racism.
There wasn't none.
It was survival. That's what it was about. Survival. And what different races realize is that how can we survive out of and not be fearful? See, if a baby is born, and the first thing that a baby does is everything is new around them. So what they are fearful, they're trying to figure out how can they survive all of this.
Yes.
So then someone began saying, we need to dominate. We need to dominate certain people. And Saigon or Babylon, that's Sumerian. And what Saigon did was said that we got to cut off the heads of the black-headed people.
Wow.
Now, what is Babylon? Babylon is Iraq today. And Saddam Hussein, Walt Lister, I should never forget. I was watching CNN when the Gulf War was going on. And Walt Lister, CNN anchorman, said Saddam Hussein sent word because of Colin Powell's stand with the war that Black America would never see the ancient contribution that their people played in the dawn of civilization and religion. And he blew up that mask that had all those artifacts in there.
Get out of town.
And I said, if I could ever get to Walt Bliss, I want you to repeat that because people are not going to believe me. But that's true. I never forget that. So let's move on. We're talking about African history here now. Anwar Sadat, January 1978, Times Magazine, Man of the Year. President of Egypt. Mother was a Sudanian from Sudan. That's the president of Egypt. And later on, of course, they killed him. But when you talk about the role of African and the role that Africans has played in the world, see, sometimes we confuse the process. The United States is just a small part of the world. People over in other countries know the real deal. Mm-hmm. And they know what people of color is all about. So, another example, Newsweek magazine, January 1988, had a front cover picture of Adam and Eve as being black. And I called.
You didn't call them, did you?
I called the Newsweek magazine because I had lost my copy. Mm-hmm. Coming from St. Louis to Chattanooga. Somehow I lost my original copy of that Time Week magazine. So as I began to continue to do research and study, I said, I need, let me call them because they have back issues.
Yes.
And I called the Times Week magazine, and the lady and I talked on the phone, and she said, how can I help you? I said, yes, I would like a copy of the Newsweek magazine, January of 1988. She said, okay, sir, let me go and see if I can find it. She came back to the phone and she says, Mr. Bryson, for some reason, it's been pulled.
Oh, wow.
That's a fact. Now, I do have a black and white copy of that magazine because I know there are people out there saying, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I got the facts. All you got to do is show up. And if you got money, I got the time, and I'll share it with you. But that's a fact. Can you imagine this? Adam and Eve on the front cover of Time Week magazine displayed as blacks. But yet, when you go to get a back order of that magazine, the lady told me, for some reason, Mr. Bryson, it's been pulled.
What year was that? 1978?
No, January of 1988 was the magazine.
1988.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
wow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, as we move on, I don't know how I'm moving with time, but like I said, I got my notes here. I can go forever.
This is so important. You know, we're going to give them the opportunity to get all that information. Well, this is just a little piece of it, y'all.
It's bad.
Just to wet your tongue a little bit.
Yeah. Now the transatlantic slave trade is another one of our syllables. Arthur Basin Dable in 1961 wrote a book. The title of the book was about the transatlantic slave trade. That was the title of the book. The original title of his book was called The Black Mother. 1971. That was the original title. And in that book, he talks about the Atlantic slave trade, the different ships that they used and brought slaves over. But a caveat with that, do you know who the most slave traders are who captured slaves? You know who the most did that?
Tell us all about
People
it.
from India.
From India.
India had more African slaves than anyone.
Wow.
And so
y'all write that down because y'all got your history wrong.
Now, let's just kind of talk about racism here briefly. To me, racism is a tool that's used as a device to avoid human rights. I say that again. Racism is a tool that is used to avoid human rights because God says we're all human.
Mm-hmm.
And who is one human being to tell another human being that you are a cattle? And what racism was able to do is to take that tool and to create divisiveness.
Yes.
Among the human race.
Among the human race.
See,
come on now.
And it's not about civil rights, it's about human rights. If you address human rights, civil rights takes care of itself.
Yes, that's correct.
It takes care of itself.
Powerful.
I don't care what color you are.
That's powerful.
Everybody is somebody.
That is powerful.
Human rights takes care of civil rights. It takes care of every other right. Because you are not dehumanizing anyone. You see them as a human being just as you see yourself. But because people want to dominate, because they want to conquer, and because they want to be able to say that they are it, they use that racism tool to be divisive.
Wow. Okay. You all right? I hope y'all write some notes. Now, you know, we recording this show, so it's going down in history. This show is. But you all get your pen and paper out because I'm telling you, this is going to be the most powerful thing, I believe, in Chattanooga and Tennessee and this part of the country and this world that we could do is to give people knowledge, the true knowledge, so that we can all be equipped equally to work together. And it's going to be offered here as a part of the African American Education and Heritage Museum. You will not be denied. You will not be denied. And I'm going to let him talk about that. But, you know, you got to come to the grand opening, which is going to be June the 22nd, as we celebrate not only the grand opening of this amazing museum, but also Juneteenth celebration. But I just want to get that in, but I want you to continue because I'm really getting into this.
Well, I want to talk about the role of the transition of the Negro culture to the African American culture. There's two. Now, I came up in the Negro culture.
Okay.
I was a Negro. That's what we was called. Now, how do we do that transition? Well, you know, James Brown come along, say, I'm black and I'm proud. and we all go, yes.
Yes, I'm black and I'm proud. Dun, 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 dun.
So I'm no longer a Negro. I'm African. I'm African American. And I am an African American. And if I was not born in Africa, I am an African American. Now, if I'm born in Africa, I'm what? I'm African.
I'm an African.
Okay. So later on, and if you come to the class, we're going to talk about whether you're black or not. There are Africans who would say to you that they're not black because there are certain real black people in Africa. A real black human means. I'm not gonna go there.
It has nothing to do with the shade of your skin. It's something else.
Yeah,
So,
oh yeah.
y'all got to take this course. You got me hungry. I know I'm signing up. I'm telling you all. And we have people, I'm telling you, from all different sectors of society, all different groups of people, all different ethnic backgrounds that are interested in learning the history of Africa and as it relates to America and filling in all those pieces and getting educated. Because once you have the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding, then I believe that that is power in itself. And that's what we're missing is that power. So go ahead, Brother Bryson. I'm telling you.
And the next thing is the role of the Black church in the African American community. Now, we can really go deep with that because if the Black church has been the backbone and the pillar of the Black community. And some of that is eroding. Now, I'm not going against ministers and preachers and all that God called them, so you can talk to them about that. But what I am saying is that would be one of the things that we will be talking about in the class. And I could go in for, but the role of the Black church in the Black community. There's a role. And
part of the museum addresses the pastors and the role that they have had, especially during the civil rights movement and all of those things that were taking place during that time. We have a whole section on ministers and their role and their educational role in particular in the African American community in the civil rights movement era. So it's amazing.
Well, but what concerns me, Dr. Woods, and also maybe a few others, is the politics of this.
Yes.
Okay, because urban America has always been where the power and strength of the Black community has been. But the gerrymandering comes along. And I venture to say that in a few years from now, because of the way society is moving, the strength of the Black community in urban America is being diluted.
Yes, we know that to be true.
Okay, because all you have to do is just look around you and see how it's being more integrated and becoming more diverse. Now, I'm not against that. All I'm sharing is an observation that I see that's happening pretty much all over, because you hear other Black leaders and Black scholars talk about this. I mean, Harlem is not what Harlem used to be. Is Dr. King, Martin Luther King Street, is 9th Street what it used to be? No. Okay. So when it's, in my little hometown, it's not what it used to be. And when I talk to others, Black and white, it's just being diluted. Now, whether that's good or bad, only time will tell. But people is power. If you have people, have numbers, you got power. But if that's diluted, then that weakens you.
Yes.
In numbers. Okay, so I just want to share that out. Now let's talk about the African reparation movement. That is another. Do we deserve reparation? I don't know.
That's a debate. That's a class.
That's
what we're talking about.
But it is a way you do it. Now I should never forget. My friend Dr. Holloway asked me to involved in the Rainbow Push Coalition in 1999. I believe I went to Chicago, and that they was having the World Conference on Racism in Durban, South Africa. And the only thing that Durban, South Africa, that reparation conference was asking the United States to do was just to acknowledge that racism was wrong, and that would do reparation. And George Bush II told Colin Powell and his delegates to get up and leave the table. Don't even discuss it.
Wow.
That's a fact.
No apologies.
No apologies. No. And they do it settle today. They put it in the state's hands. And you'll hear a governor or mayor saying we apologize. But in
Yes.
terms of it coming from the federal government, it's not there. Because that means what? It means you done some wrong.
Did some
That's
wrong.
wrong.
Now you
Right.
got to go dig deep in your pockets and undo the wrong.
Yeah,
I
no,
got
that's
you.
right.
I got you.
Now, African American education, Lord, that's another. But there's an author by the name of Cheryl Casey, and she wrote a book, The Failure of Integration, and how race and class are undermining the American dream. So that is a book that I've read. I recommended others read it. The Failure of Integration. I should never forget uh, when I went home for the summer. I think it was my at the end of my first year in graduate school, and one of my teachers, she was retiring. She was a librarian, and she grabbed and hugged me and said she wanted to see me. And she says, "Harold, uh, I'm getting ready to retire." I said, "Well," I said, "I know things have been good for you because you're all integrated. You got great facilities. You don't have to worry about a lot of things." She said, "No, but integration is going to kill our kids."
Wow.
I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "Well, when 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 we told you all something, you all would say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. And if we told you all to stop, you stop." She said, "But when we tell our kids today who is in this integration of mixture of education, they just keep running and they'll tell us, I don't have to stop." They'll come up to me and say, Bryson. They don't have to say Mr. Bryson.
We have lost the
That's
courtesy.
so you look at our values. That's when I talk about the Negro community. That was part of our values there that has been lost. But classism is the thing that's gonna get a lot of people. They're not talking about your skin, is how much money you got.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
How you can survive.
Right.
And so, that's when W. Du Bois, in 1919 at the African Friend Conference, he said that that 20th century problem would be about race. Well, in 1923 at the Pan Am Conference, he came back and he said it's also going to be about class.
Right.
Now, that was in 1919 and 1923. How did that man have the vision
all ahead
to
of
say
time.
what was going on today?
Right.
Okay.
We got about 1 minute.
Okay, all right.
We're gonna wrap it up because
okay, I can talk
but we hey, y'all, this man is loaded. Loaded.
And Dr. Woods, let me say this. Last week you had a gentleman on. He was a military man and he talked about the Buffalo Soldiers.
Yes, they're here today to celebrate.
Okay,
that.
Well, one of the things that I remember when I studied about the Buffalo Soldiers, that was the tip of the Civil War. Yeah. A lot of people don't know.
I didn't know.
But but the reason is because Fort Sumter. See, Lincoln became the president in April, I think, of 1986, and in March, and in April, the Confederates bombarded Fort Sumter, which had black soldiers, and the black soldiers were surrendering, and the Confederate soldiers shot them down. Mm-hmm. And Lincoln and General Howard, who Howard University and other Howards are named after, Lincoln sent General Howard word, said, "We want to go get them." And General Howard contacted all of the military men, Sherman and all of them. And when they came up on the Confederate soldiers, you know what they said?
What?
Fort Sumter.
Fort Sumter.
They let them know.
Wow.
They let them know. Right?
But
anyway, it's so much. I appreciate you.
Yes, and, this has been a history of, I'm telling you, I'm just drenched with history all over me, y'all. And let me tell you, since you brought that up about the Buffalo Soldier, we have an honorary Buffalo Soldier that they're celebrating right now, today, here at Alton Park Development Corporation. They have music going on. They have a huge program. The American Legion, post number 0291, has got it going on here at Alton Park Development Corporation. They have the things for the family and the kids to play with, to jump this, to slide that. And they have a huge program honoring Dr. Is it Bartlow? Yes, this is his day, and they are celebrating his day right now. You all get on over here. They got food and all kinds of stuff going on right now outside on our field. I call it our park, which is part of our facility. It is absolutely beautiful out there. You all come out here and enjoy this. And I'm telling you, if you all come to this event on June the 22nd and sign up for Mr. Bryson's, I'm gonna call you Dr. Bryson. Man, they got that much. I'm telling you, Dr. Bryson's African American history courses, it will be something that you probably can't find nowhere in this part of the state of Tennessee. This man is drenched with knowledge, over 5 decades of teaching African history, and we are just honored. We are honored to have him as a part of the African American Education and Heritage Museum and offering these courses. You all, we got to see you there. The event starts June the 22nd. We'll have our ribbon cutting ceremony with all our dignitaries and all, and followed by festivities. We've got African drum and dance going on from gentlemen from Africa. We've got Howard High School marching band are going to be performing. And for the kids, you know, we have the petting farm people are going to be here with about 10 different animals and horseback riding for pony rides for the kids and a whole lot more. So we want you all to come out. We are going to celebrate Juneteenth, and we're going to celebrate in a big way. And you all please come out and support this event and support the Heritage Museum. It's a grand opening. You get a sneak preview, I call it, of the museum, and it is looking great out there. And anything else you want to say, Mr. Bryson, on your closing before we get out of here? We've got another guest coming on, y'all. The next, I guess, 30 minutes, we'll be entertained by Simpa, and we'll let them come on and talk about what they're doing out here.
Yeah, I just want to close again by saying history rewards our research. And I would say to everyone, you have to, if you don't have a passion for it, you know, you're just going to get a spill. And sometimes you might get to, but you have to do hardcore research. And once you do hardcore research, you'll find out some people been lying to you about some things.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that.
Yes. All right. Well, we're gonna close on that, but we're gonna come right back to you. We're gonna change the set, change the scene, and get started with Simpa. And yes, after Simpa, we will have State Representative Yusuf Hakeem coming on. So don't you touch that dial. Don't you go nowhere. We are live here in the studio at WPTP 100.1 FM here in the heart of Alton Park, Chattanooga, Tennessee. And we'll see you in about 5 minutes. Come back.